we're going to start with the news like the Jimmy G stuff. He is free to search for a trade. How long do you think he and the 49ers will try to find this trade before they just give up?
I mean, I think it's going up to the beginning of week 1. I'm not one of these guys that believes they're going to keep him on the roster for the regular season. I think they'll give it their best. You are, I know. It just does not make sense to me.
It doesn't. It's insane.
It would be insane. I think I'm hoping that they're smarter than that. I just think it's time to move on. So, let's see if we can get anything for him, anything of value. But before week 1, if we can't get a trade, it's time to cut him.
I know there was a report yesterday that like 5 teams have called the Niners about Jimmy Garoppolo, and one of the teams is Atlanta. I just don't really see any team trading for Jimmy Garoppolo unless the Niners pay for most of his contract. And maybe they're willing to do that. But I still think they're sort of hoping that a team will get really desperate. Like Atlanta isn't desperate. The only team that would qualify as desperate right now is Cleveland if Deshaun Watson gets suspended for the entire year. And I think the Niners are sort of, I could be wrong, but I think they're committed to waiting for this opportunity that's never going to arise. The desperation, the Sam Bradford thing, And so they're going to wait and see what happens with Cleveland, even though Mary Kay Cabot has already reported that they're not interested in Jimmy Garoppolo under any circumstances. I think the Niners are like, calling your bluff. If Deshaun's out the entire year, you're going to have to hit us up. And if it's not Cleveland, I think the Niners are going to do what Jed said they could do. Take this into the regular season. See if a quarterback gets hurt, gets benched. Take it to the trade deadline. Take it to the bridge. I don't know. That's the way I see it. It's not the right move, but it's the move that I think Jed York's going to allow them to do.
I can see your point, and maybe it happens. I just think it would be just nuts. They may get a trade if something changes in training camp, somebody gets injured, or we find out Deshaun Watson's out the entire year, then maybe we can get a trade. But other than that, I've been saying it for 4 months that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be cut from the 49ers ultimately, and I really still believe that that's what's going to happen.
I was talking to Dan Sileo a couple of weeks ago, who, I'm not vouching for anything, his journalistic chops, but he had an observation that I agreed with. He said, look, John Lynch really doesn't want to lose the Jimmy Garoppolo trade. It's very important to him not to lose that. And I agree with him because I think the perception is he lost the Buckner trade, he lost the D Ford trade. And if he loses the Jimmy trade, it's like he's like 0 for 3 on the big ones that he was responsible for. I think a lot of people would argue he already won the trade. It was a 2nd round pick. You got a lot from Jimmy Garoppolo, but maybe a lot of people internally, a lot of people around the league would argue otherwise. So to him, I think getting that 3rd round comp pick that they could get just by holding on to Jimmy another year is important because it's less of a loss than cutting him. Although, of course, we would disagree. I'm just trying to look at it from John's perspective. Because really, if they cut him now, you know what I'm going to say? Yeah. Should have done this 4 months ago. What were you waiting for? And that's a valid criticism. I don't know how you answer that question.
Well, I think there's 2 sides to this, right? The first side is the trade to acquire him. And I think we won that trade. A 2nd round pick to get a starting quarterback for 4 years, make a run in the playoffs. I think we have won that, that trade. Now, he should just be happy with that. Cut him, and move on. As far as winning this next trade, in my opinion, if you're not getting a 1st round, 2nd round, 3rd round pick for Jimmy, then it's more the 25 million, 25, 27, whatever it is more valuable than a 4th, 5th, or 6th rounder in the future. So I don't see them getting a 1st, 2nd, or 3rd round pick. So in my opinion, on the front side of this trade, we already won. On the back side of this trade, we already lost because I do not see us getting a 1st, 2nd, or 3rd round pick. So
the only way they get a 1st, 2nd, or 3rd round pick is if a team is desperate. They need Jimmy to start, and the Niners pay for his entire salary. They're like, we'll pay for Jimmy to play for you this year. Just give us a 2nd round pick because we're prepared right now to have him on our bench and pay $27 million essentially for a 3rd round comp. That's like the 105th pick. So if you'll give us pick 60, we will pay for him to play for you this year. I think they might even do that if they're committed. I mean, unless I'm wrong. What they really could do is if you're right and they cut him, they could wait until like the very, very, very end because I don't think they want him to start for another team. I think other teams like Seattle might sign him if they have enough time to get him prepared. So just wait until the very end, until every team is locked in on their starter and be like, all right, man, you're cut, but there's no starting job available. So we could re-sign you. I mean, we could make you the highest paid backup in the league. or you could go somewhere else and be a backup for less money. How spiteful you want to be, Jimmy? They could do something like that.
I think, I had the whole press conference at the end of last year saying goodbye. I don't see Jimmy
getting cut and coming back.
I don't see him coming back as a backup for Trey Lance. I just don't think, he's been a starter for 4 or 5 years. I think he's going to try to go put himself in a position where he can start again and prove the 49ers wrong. I don't think he will, but I think that's his goal. I have a question for you. Do you think would you pay $25 million for a second-round pick?
No. What I would have done is I would have cut Jimmy Garoppolo months ago and used that money on this team. But they already missed that opportunity. So their choices at this point are cut Jimmy Garoppolo and roll that money over to next year, or spend $25 million on a second-round pick. I would still choose the first option. Like it's the second-round pick. You took Aaron Banks in the second round. Imagine spending $25 million on the opportunity to draft Aaron Banks. So no, absolutely not. But the Niners, to me, are like addicted to these comp picks. They look at them as like free money, and they're positioning themselves every year to get a third-round comp pick. They don't make a bunch of moves in free agency. They let more people leave and come in, and they get this like free candy. And third-round comp pick for Jimmy. I just can't see the Niners walking away from that and being like, we stubbornly held out the hope that we could trade him for 4 months, but we were wrong. Oh, well, we're cutting him. It's like, that's just not their attitude. They double down relentlessly, Kyle and John. I would almost applaud them if they cut him. Like, wow. I mean, better late than never. But I don't know, man. Kyle, prove me wrong on this one. John, prove me wrong on this one. You guys seem so dug in. And they've said so many times on the record, we're not going to cut him. He's too good. Either he's going to be on our team or we're going to trade. I mean, they've said that so many times. I'd love to see him be like, we were just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Right. I think, I think the longer this goes on, the less likely teams are going to be willing to trade for him because, I think people are calling their bluff. Like, you're not going to pay $25 million for a backup. You're going to cut him, and then I'll be able to sign him for much cheaper without trading you anything. I think that's kind of.
And they're like, but Jed said we could. Jed said we could do it.
I would not like that. I think, like we talked about, I think in our last show, I think Jimmy Garoppolo would be probably one of the best backups in the NFL, if not the best backup in the NFL. So from a roster standpoint, that would be great for the 49ers, but not at $25 million. And I also just don't think Jimmy's on board for that.
Not here. Because to me, it's like last year when Jimmy struggled early on in the season, the team was losing. Some people were like, bring in Trey. But I don't know how many people on the team were, because it's like, is a 21-year-old rookie really going to save us? But if it's reversed and the 22-year-old first-year starter isn't even struggling, but the team is struggling, and they're 2-4, how many people in that locker room or on that team are going to be like, can we just go back to Jimmy? It's like, forget it. We know we can win we can win a Super Bowl with Jimmy, but we know we can get to the playoffs with. It seems like that would be very loud, not just from fans, but from teammates and coaches and front office people. And I don't think you want that. I don't think it's good. Because
I wonder what the mentality is for the Niners this year. Is it let's go win a Super Bowl with Trey Lance, or is it let's start the Trey Lance era?
It's that. If it was the first one, Jimmy wouldn't be here, and they would have spent that money on a center, on a left guard, and a strong safety and a nickel. But they didn't. I think the attitude this year is, hey, man, if we're just going to throw Trey Lance in there blind, not knowing what we're going to expect, let's do the same thing as strong safety, nickel back, left guard, center. It's like, let's learn as much as we can about our young guys this year. And if 4 of them are good, we're a Super Bowl team. If none of them are good, we're in trouble. But I guess they have to find out where they stand with some of these guys, because they were one of the older teams in the league last year.
Yeah, and that mentality, if that is the mentality, I think that's, evidence that they're not going to keep Jimmy around. Right. If they're not worried about trying to make a deep run in the playoffs or get to a Super Bowl, and they're just trying to see what they got in Trey Lance and some other people, then why keep Jimmy around and pay him $25 million?
Because they're scared. Because they're scared, and they haven't committed themselves to the Trey Lance era yet. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Jacob Mayhew says, I'm sorry. If John keeps Jimmy, he needs to be fired. I don't care. It's Trey time. Let's forget about this arsonist. I feel you, man, but the person who'll be firing him is Jed York. And if Jed York were Eddie DeBartolo, Eddie would have went into John's office months ago and been like, hey, get rid of Jimmy now. I'm the owner of this team. This is what's going to happen. And it's like, I'm not even going to hold this against you. This is what's for the best of the team. Forget it. He's gone. But if your boss doesn't tell you that, I mean, you're going to do what's in your best interest, not necessarily the team's best interest, I think.
Yeah.
Shreddy Murphy says Niners will keep Jimmy Garoppolo as a backup because they can't trade him. Shreddy, good name. Interesting point. That's the point I'm making.